Hello, everyone, and welcome to Nomadic Diaries, where we share the secrets of life on the move. Whether you are a long or short-term expatriate or a digital nomad, we hope that you will find something here that will be inspiring or informational that you can take action on. My name is Doreen Cumberford, and I'm your host for today. And today I am producing a small short podcast for the National Podcasters Promotion Month. For a number of years, I've been rather fascinated with the science of the mind and the way we drive our minds, the way we use our minds, the way we think. And I found this great book by Joseph Scholz, which presents exciting, fairly new research from both cultural psychology and neuroscience. It sheds light on the hidden influence of culture on the unconscious mind and really helps people to get more out of their intercultural journeys. So I'm going to read a little excerpt from his book today on the subject of managing our minds abroad. The broad strokes of his book, The Intercultural Mind, really seeks to answer the following questions. What is culture shock? How does it affect us? Why are we blind to our own cultural condition? And that would be all those unconscious biases that we're unaware of. Can cultural differences be measured? And what does it mean to have an international mindset? So the author has actually worked in intercultural education in Japan, Mexico, and Europe for more than 25 years. Those are three of the places I too have lived. In Japan, and I'm currently living in Mexico. So I'm very curious to see what is inside this book, particularly Chapter 5, Managing Our Minds Abroad. We often cannot anticipate the cognitive impact of foreign experiences. Sojourners share stories of unexpectedly difficult adjustment and culture shock. Our reactions make sense when we see these challenges for what they are: cognitive overload. Kathy from LA. Kathy touched down in Tokyo as something of a poster child for a multicultural postmodern society. As a vivacious Asian American student from LA, her decision to take part in a study abroad program in Japan seemed like a natural life choice and a boost for a future international career. She was a double major in global studies and Japanese, and she felt ready to take on whatever cultural adjustment issues she might encounter. Raised in a diverse neighborhood by parents originally from Taipei, Kathy embraced her cultural heritage and had traveled to Taiwan and spent time connecting to her relatives there. This sort of heritage wasn't unusual in her high school, where she had many friends of different racial and ethnic backgrounds. She grew up in California at a time when the minority population of the state passed the 50% mark. Even before leaving, she expected her trip to be a journey of growth and discovery. She had historic and cultural knowledge of Japan, including the Japanese language, and had visited as a tourist before. The transition from one diverse metropolis, LA, to another, Tokyo, did not seem like such a big jump. If anyone had reason to expect a smooth transition to life abroad, she did. Yet, despite her preparation and positive attitude, Kathy was blindsided by the difficulties of adapting to life in Tokyo. The next part is written by Kathy. Little did I know how wrong my assumptions were and how many cultural adjustment issues I was going to face. All my expectations were challenged, and the image of Japan in my mind was completely uprooted, causing me to experience an extreme case of culture shock. I became depressed, negative, and withdrawn, the complete opposite of the person I really am. Even now, I'm still in the middle of getting over my culture shock, and the old me is slowly trying to break free. Joseph goes on to say, I regularly meet students like Kathy, smart, emotionally healthy people who struggle with the challenges of life abroad. Some find there's a huge gap between being a tourist abroad and being a long-term resident. Others find that their expectations were off. Perhaps they idealized their destination or felt more lonely or stressed than expected. Rarely, however, are foreign experiences just as we imagine they will be. Kathy was much better prepared than most. She had done a lot of thinking and studying about internationalism before her stay. She had studied Japanese. Many Americans are painfully monolingual. Had visited Tokyo before, had a philosophical commitment to cultural diversity, was proud of her own cultural heritage, and aspired to a career in international business. She was also an outgoing and friendly person. Moreover, she was thoughtful and willing to reflect on her experiences in an honest way. How can we make sense of her strongly negative reaction? If Kathy struggled, then who wouldn't? Transformation abroad. Entering a new environment stimulates us at many levels of self. This helps explain the addictive attraction of travel, with its potential for mind-expanding, even transformational experiences. Many people accept the idea that foreign experiences can change us and help us grow. As one intercultural communication scholar says, travel has the potential to teach radical lessons about the possibility of living a different everyday life. Foreign experience gives us a new point of comparison to evaluate our own choices in life, and breaking our routines provides a fresh perspective on how we spend our time. The idea of life-changing travel is seen in popular best-selling books like Eat, Pray, Love, which portrays living abroad as an adventure in personal growth, and in the work of popular travel writers like Pico Iyer, who describes himself as a global soul. Travel is often portrayed as a sort of meaningful life quest, something that has outcomes that rekindle the spirit, rejuvenate the body, and even ignite a shift in consciousness. One article in a counseling journal states that a week in Aruba is worth 3 years of therapy. The idea that foreign experiences expand our horizons has become so popularized that some college admissions counselors advise applicants not to write about insights gained from travel in application essays, since that theme is so common and often cliche. One guide to studying abroad has the ambitious title, Becoming World Wise. Few would deny that foreign experiences at least have the potential to expand our horizons, change us, or help us develop in any number of ways. From the cognitive perspective, however, there's a catch to all this talk of transformation and growth. When we travel, we not only get away from our usual environment, giving us a chance to reflect on our lives in a new way, we also must adapt to new, unexpected surroundings. These two elements of travel exist in uneasy opposition. Leaving home and seeking a comfortable retreat, a vacation resort, for example, is very different from putting ourselves in a situation that requires learning, improvisation, and adaptation. Naturally, doing the latter is often what provokes unexpected reactions. Our attentive mind may map out a travel itinerary, sign up for a homestay program, choose an intensive language course, or decide to take a foreign posting. But it's the intuitive mind, the autopilot of everyday life, that bears the brunt of intercultural adjustment. We can opt for a much more insulated experience, such as a pre-planned tour, a luxury cruise, but protecting ourselves from adaptive challenges changes the nature of the travel experience. Put simply, the more adaptive demands we face, the more powerful, yet also the more unpredictable our intercultural experiences will be. Adjustment challenges can catch anyone off guard. Kathy may not have understood the difference between a philosophical commitment to diversity, a largely conscious intellectual stance, and the ability to successfully adjust to foreign environments, an unconscious process of learning and change. Having the former does not guarantee success with the latter. Kathy was raised in California, where cultural diversity is often couched in the language of ethnic pride and tolerance for other lifestyles. Confronted with the day-to-day stresses of cross-cultural adjustment, she found life abroad more foreign than expected. I meet some sojourners who expect life abroad to be like a vacation, except longer. They may discover, however, that stress builds as the initial novelty of their surroundings wears off. Some do manage to successfully treat their time away like a long holiday, hanging out with their companions and making little effort to learn about their new surroundings. Sensitive, emotionally engaged sojourners like Kathy, on the other hand, report powerful emotional ups and downs, but may also have more deeply satisfying experiences. At the core of these challenges are the profound learning demands made to both our attentive and intuitive mind. For starters, our conscious mind has little control over how we react to the challenge we face. We may imagine what it will be like to be abroad. We find our guesses way off. Ray, an American studying in Japan, says, "My attitude towards intercultural experience was like what John Lennon sang, 'Nothing's going to change my world.' I thought I was impervious to being changed by international experience. I have now come to know this is completely false. International experience had been a major impact on the formation of my identity." Like many who have had highly successful international experiences, Ray's adjustment process involved a lot of unexpected change. Yet, like many travelers, he was unrealistic about what it would be like or how he would respond. Even those with significant experience abroad sometimes miscalculate potential stressors. Consider Maria, a Romanian who was planning a study abroad stay in Tokyo. She recalled previous struggles when studying in a high school in the UK, and she decided to be better prepared for her Japan adventure. "Before coming over, I spent hours on the internet trying to find accommodation first, looking on Google Maps, learning all the streets around my new flat. At the same time, I searched many travel websites and personal blogs about Japan, so I felt like I was an expert in everything Japan had to offer, apart from the language, of course. How wrong I was. Having previously had the opportunity of relocating to another country, I thought that all the stress of my first experience was because I was not prepared and did not know a lot about the Welsh culture. I was confident that my research about Japan should have dealt with this gap, but nothing had prepared me for having to try and function normally in a language that I had no confidence in communicating and a culture that is so complex and different from what I knew that a few websites could not describe it properly." So two things stand out about Maria's account. First, despite her previous experience, she herself did not understand the underlying causes of the adjustment stress she had experienced in the past. Because of this, she was caught off guard by the adaptive challenges in Japan. On her second try, she came to understand that it's the more subtle cultural differences found in everyday life that make long-term adjustment difficult. The parts of our experience processed by the intuitive mind. So that is a reading today from the book, The Intercultural Mind, Connecting Culture, Cognition, and Global Living. And there's just so much to say about this. When I moved to Japan in the early 1900s, I was there in the 1990s, not the 1900s. I'm not that old. And when I was living there, it was the most foreign place I had ever lived. Now, prior to leaving for Japan, we were going on a corporate assignment. And we didn't know where the project that my husband was working on would be going. We knew it would either go to Italy, to London, to Japan, Korea, or stay in the States somewhere. And there was a large number of us, probably about a force of about 80 executives and engineers and managers, who were all going to be distributed around the globe and would be working in this interconnected project across the world. But we didn't know exactly where we would be located. And Japan was never on my radar. It was never a place that sang to me. I had always, up to that point, gone to somewhere that sang to me or called to me in some respect. And prior to that, I had lived in Europe. I had grown up in the UK, and I had lived in the Middle East and West Africa. And West Africa didn't particularly sing to me either, but Japan seemed more foreign and more challenging, except we did have a little leg up, and that was that my husband had lived and grown up. Part of his childhood was spent in Japan. So I can really identify with the story of Kathy, who felt like she had had a multicultural upbringing. She was very pro-diversity, but there's very subtle nuances that only our subconscious mind picks up. We don't necessarily pick up, our conscious mind does not necessarily arrive and land and recognize all the differences. So when we come into a new culture, there are subtleties. Now, I have to own that I have lived in Mexico now full-time for just over a year, but part-time for the last 4 to 5 years. And one of the benefits of it being close to the US is that there is a bit of an expat bubble here, but I find that just staying in the expat bubble does not grow my intelligence nor my cultural competencies. And so it's getting out into it's meeting different people, it's learning the language, it's understanding the nuances, and even the nods of the head, because even a head nod can mean something in a different culture. So just for today, I hope that you have enjoyed and appreciated this little bit of the intercultural mind from Joseph Scholz. And this is for the National Podcasters Promotion Month or Posting Month. Please, would you like, subscribe, and share? We appreciate your ears, your presence, and your listening. But beyond all that, we hope that these sharing the secrets and the inside of life on the move will be of value to you. May you have a super day wherever you find yourself. Bye-bye.